You ever walk past the shelves at Walmart and think, that's cheap junk, I'll grab it later? Yeah, you won't be saying that when the collapse hits. Because when the trucks stop running, shelves go bare, and panic kicks in, it won't be gold or gadgets people are chasing. It'll be the cheap survival gear they ignored when it was just $5 on aisle 12. These aren't luxury items. They're low-cost tools hiding in plain sight, and the second the system buckles, they'll be worth their weight in fuel, food, or safety. The kind of gear that seems extra today, but becomes untouchable once the world flips. In this video, we're walking straight through Walmart's survival goldmine, uncovering 7 ultra-cheap items that could make the difference between stuck and secure. Quick heads up before we begin. This channel doesn't sell fear, just smart prepping. If you've spotted a Walmart item others miss, drop it in the comments. Because outsmarting collapse starts with seeing what others don't. Number 1. Instant hand warmers. When the grid fails, winter doesn't wait. No matter where you live, there comes a moment, whether it's blackout, blizzard, or breakdown, where even a few degrees of warmth can make the difference between getting through the night or getting into trouble. And that's where instant hand warmers become absolute gold. Sold in multi-packs for under $10 at Walmart, these little pouches are air-activated and stay warm for up to 10 hours. Most people buy them for skiing or football games. But in a full-blown crisis, they become a silent survival weapon, compact, portable, and dependable. After the 2021 Texas freeze, thousands were left without power for days. People bundled up in sleeping bags, wrapped windows, lit candles, but those who had hand warmers tucked them into socks, gloves, under blankets, even inside jackets. The result? Hours of localized warmth that required no fuel, no batteries, no setup. That's what makes them so powerful. In any emergency where heat is gone, winter storm, fuel shortage, or bug-out scenario, hand warmers provide immediate relief. They're safe for kids, elderly, and sick people who can't move or generate body heat on their own. Tuck one in each pocket, and you've created mobile insulation. And don't underestimate their psychological impact. Warmth boosts morale. It calms panic, relieves stress, and helps people sleep. In shelters, a small heat source can quiet a crying child or comfort someone in shock. It might not be a heater, but it feels like hope. The other reason to grab them? Barter power. When the collapse hits and the nights turn brutal, people will trade almost anything for heat. Food, meds, batteries all go on the table when someone's freezing. A single 24-pack becomes 24 opportunities to trade, help, or just get through another cold night. Prepping smart doesn't always mean buying big. It means stacking tools that solve critical needs fast. These warmers are flat, silent, and weigh next to nothing. Toss a few in your glove box, go bag, closet, or coat pocket. Because when everything's broken and you're stuck in the cold, you won't care how basic they were, you'll be glad they're still warming your hands. And in a world where people are shivering in silence, the one with heat in his pocket walks strong. Number 2, masking tape. It's cheap, it's everywhere, and 99% of people think it's just for painting. But when a real collapse hits, and you're stuck in a home with no power, no backup systems, and no tools, that humble roll of masking tape suddenly becomes a tactical necessity. Why? Because unlike duct tape, masking tape is lighter, easier to tear, and more adaptable for fast fixes that don't need brute force, just smart coverage. Think broken window corners where cold air leaks in, labeling rationed food containers when there's no fridge, sealing cardboard to block drafts, taping wires out of the way, holding torn mosquito nets, or making quick repairs to gear before it gets worse. All of these take tape, and in a crisis, the right kind of tape. After the 2011 Japan tsunami, survivors in coastal towns used rolls of painter's tape and masking tape to mark off clean and contaminated zones in shelters, label aid boxes, patch up sleeping bags, and close off cracked windows before the aftershocks arrived. Tape wasn't optional, it was critical. What makes masking tape uniquely useful is its ability to hold tight without leaving sticky residue or ripping surfaces. That means it's ideal for makeshift systems like creating privacy dividers inside a crowded home, securing paper blinds, or tagging emergency routes. Unlike duct tape, which leaves gunk and needs scissors, masking tape is quick grab and fast tear, perfect for chaotic moments when seconds count. Even in blackout cooking situations, it's used to label what's been opened, mark when something was last cooked, or temporarily hold utensils or bags closed. In shelter kitchens and community hubs, preppers have used it to create simple traffic flows, arrows, X's, or labels on water jugs, stoves, or cold boxes. And then there's barter value. Once the shelves are cleared and people realize everything's falling apart, a simple roll of tape becomes a trade item. It's small, universal, and versatile, 3 traits that make it barter gold in a supply chain shutdown. Prepping isn't always about big gear. Sometimes, it's about grabbing the stuff no one thinks to grab, the things that don't look like survival tools, until they're the only tools left. So next time you pass by the hardware aisle at Walmart, don't skip the tape, because when the world peels apart, the person with the right roll holds things together. Number 3, reflective ice melt or snow marking stakes. You've probably walked past them 100 times in Walmart's seasonal aisle, a bunch of long, skinny stakes with reflective strips on top. Most people buy them to mark driveways before a snowstorm, but after a collapse, those reflective snow stakes become vital tools for survival, not for snow but for safety, visibility, and navigation in a world that's gone dark and chaotic. Let's get something straight. When the power fails, and there are no streetlights, no porch lights, no phones with working flashlights, you lose your bearings fast. Whether you're outside your home, in a crowded shelter, or even inside a blacked-out building, movement becomes dangerous. People trip, fall, get lost, and in emergencies, a few feet can make the difference between safety and injury. That's where these stakes come in. They can be hammered into the ground, tied to posts, or even taped to walls and doors to mark critical areas, pathways, exits, food lines, safe zones, hazard zones, or perimeters. In a post-collapse setting, especially one involving night raids, communal living, or rapid evacuations, having clear, visible markers becomes essential. During Hurricane Sandy, and again in Midwest tornado responses, relief crews used garden stakes and makeshift reflective poles to guide movement through debris fields, prevent injuries, and mark safe walking paths in flooded zones. Most of those were improvised from scrap, but if you already have reflective stakes, you're 10 steps ahead. And they're not just for outside. In a blacked-out home, you can tape them near stairs, hallways, or basement doors, anywhere someone could trip or panic in the dark. Even in tents or shelters, they help define space, separate families, or guide movement without light. They also hold barter potential. Most people don't even realize what they are until they can't see where they're going. Then suddenly, a glowing marker that needs no batteries becomes priceless. They're ultra-lightweight, waterproof, and stackable. You can throw a half dozen in a corner or bug-out bin and forget about them until they're the only visible markers left in the neighborhood. Because when the lights are out and chaos creeps in, the one with a few bright markers lights the way for everyone else. Number 4, reusable silicone food covers. In normal life, you throw one over a bowl to keep your salad fresh. In a collapse, that stretchy piece of silicone becomes a sanitation shield, water saver, and food preserver rolled into one. Reusable silicone food covers sold in multi-packs at Walmart's kitchen section might seem like a luxury. But in any serious crisis, where water is rationed, hygiene is fragile, and every calorie counts, they shift from nice-to-have to critical gear. Picture this. You've cooked a small pot of food using the last of your propane. There's no fridge, no plastic wrap, no clean lid. You can't afford contamination, not when food is scarce. A silicone cover snaps over the pot, seals in heat, blocks dust or insects, and keeps your meal edible for hours, maybe longer. Unlike foil or plastic wrap, these covers are washable and reusable. That's massive in water-scarce environments, where you can't waste supplies cleaning disposable trash. A quick wipe or rinse, and they're ready again. And because they're stretchable, they fit bowls, jars, cups, even cans, creating airtight seals without clips or clamps. They also work beyond the kitchen. During field aid operations in storm-hit Puerto Rico, relief groups used silicone lids to cover medical supplies, keep water containers closed, and shield gear from dirt. Their reusability meant less waste, less cleanup, and more security in unsanitary conditions. Another overlooked advantage? Pest control. When sanitation breaks down, flies, rats, and roaches swarm. Leftover food becomes a magnet. A silicone cover stops that, and in a barter-driven world, that cleanliness adds trade value. No one wants to eat from an open dish during a disease outbreak. They're also light, flexible, and dead silent, perfect for urban survival or stealth prepping. Slide a few in your bag and forget them. They take up less space than a t-shirt, but in a crowded crisis shelter, that small cover might mean the only clean bite you get that day, plus their barter potential is huge. In any communal or post-disaster setting, hygiene becomes currency. If you've got extra silicone covers while others are using towels or plastic bags to guard their meals, you've got leverage. So while everyone's grabbing canned food and duct tape, you quietly stack a 5-pack of silicone covers in your cart. Because after the collapse, it's not just about having food, it's about keeping it clean, safe, and yours. Number 5. Small portable kitchen thermometer. In a world where refrigeration's down, power's cut, and you're cooking over open flame or propane, how do you know your food is safe? You don't, unless you've got a simple kitchen thermometer. This tiny, under -$10 gadget, usually used for roasts or candy, becomes a crucial survival tool once the grid goes down. Why? Because when your food supply shrinks, the risk of foodborne illness skyrockets. And getting sick during a collapse isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. No clinics, no pharmacies, no clean water for recovery. One bad piece of undercooked meat or spoiled leftovers reheated just enough can lead to serious illness or worse. That's why a manual or battery-operated thermometer is a silent essential. It tells you instantly if your meat's at 165 degrees Fahrenheit, if your boiling water is hot enough to sterilize, if that stew you reheated over sterno fuel is actually safe to eat or a gamble. In post-disaster zones like Haiti and Pakistan, aid workers relied on portable thermometers to protect community kitchens from outbreaks. Food had to be cooked and held at safe temperatures or dumped. That small tool prevented widespread sickness more than most realize, and it's not just for cooking. You can use it to measure water purification, heat levels, test room temps in baby shelters, or keep track of medication storage. In areas where insulin or antibiotics need to stay under a certain temp, knowledge is everything. It's small, light, and barterable, and you won't find it once the panic sets in. Most people won't think to grab one. But when neighbors start getting sick from half-cooked rice or spoiled meat, the guy with the thermometer becomes the expert, the one they turn to. You won't use it every day. But when you need it, it might just keep you and your family out of danger. In a world where close enough doesn't cut it, you either guess or you measure. The smart ones measure. Number 6. Unscented tealight candles. They sit quietly on store shelves tucked into the home decor aisle, forgotten between scented wax and decorative jars. But in a true collapse, those unscented tealight candles become pure gold. Why? Because when the power's out, fuel is gone, batteries are drained, and the nights stretch longer than your nerves controlled, long-lasting light isn't just useful, it's survival. Walmart sells packs of 50 to 100 tea lights for just a few bucks. At first glance, they look too small to matter. But each one burns for 3 to 5 hours. Multiply that by a pack of 100. That's over 300 hours of light, ready to go, no electricity, no noise, no smell. Let's break that down. A few candles placed safely inside jars can illuminate an entire room without attracting outside attention. No humming generators, no LED glare, just a soft, steady glow. And in tight spaces or overcrowded shelters, that quiet, low-profile light means safety without exposure. But they go beyond lighting. Tea lights can warm small meals in an emergency. In places like Venezuela, where utilities collapsed for months, families used tea lights under clay mugs and metal pans to heat water for tea, baby formula, and medicine. One small flame under a ceramic bowl could take the chill off leftovers or provide comfort food to a freezing child. They're also stackable, waterproof when stored right, and insanely barterable. In crisis zones, people have traded food, tools, even antibiotics for just a handful of clean-burning tea lights. When every other light source has failed, a tiny flame becomes luxury. And unlike regular candles, tea lights are low risk. Their metal casing prevents wax spills, and the flame self-extinguishes when it hits the bottom. That makes them safer for indoor use and ideal for shelters, RVs, or blackout bedrooms. Place one in a tin can, and you've got a mini heat source that doesn't set off alarms. They're also morale boosters. During prolonged blackouts, people don't just need light, they need normalcy. A warm glow on the wall, a flicker in the dark, it keeps panic at bay. You can't measure that in watts, but in a collapsed world, that's the kind of power that matters. So while everyone else is loading up on flashlights that eat batteries, you quietly stash away a few bulk packs of tealights. Silent, cheap, steady. Because when the grid's gone, and the world's gone cold and dark, the one with a candle flame becomes the center of the room. Number 7, cat litter scoops. It's not glamorous, it's not high-tech. But once sanitation systems fail, and you're left managing human waste, garbage, or debris by hand, a cat litter scoop suddenly becomes one of the most critical tools in your entire setup. Walk through Walmart's pet aisle, and you'll find them for $2 to $5. Slotted plastic or metal scoops, usually designed to clean litter boxes. But when disaster hits and toilets back up, garbage piles grow, or you're stuck without running water, that same scoop becomes your hygiene line of defense. Let's get specific. In a grid-down scenario, your toilet may be out of service. Buckets lined with trash bags or kitty litter become the emergency solution. But without a scoop, managing those bags, especially if they're reused, gets ugly fast. A scoop gives you distance, precision, and minimizes hand exposure to biohazards. The same logic applies to makeshift compost setups, portable toilets, and outdoor latrines. Whether you're dumping ash, stirring waste to reduce smell, or just trying to move solid debris, you're going to want a dedicated tool. And a cat litter scoop is literally made for that task. It's also valuable for non-human waste. After floods or fires, communities often deal with scattered insulation, broken food, ash, even animal remains. A slotted scoop helps sort, move, and discard smaller debris without using your hands or wasting gloves. It's lightweight, easy to wash, and doesn't absorb odor. Look at any long-term refugee zone or disaster shelter, especially those set up after earthquakes or war. You'll find sanitation teams using makeshift scoops made from cut-up plastic jugs or tin sheets. That's how essential this function is. But if you've pre-packed a proper scoop, you're operating way ahead of the curve. Barter potential is high too. Sanitation gets ignored until it becomes urgent, and then, suddenly, people will trade food, meds, or batteries just to avoid touching waste. Having even a couple of clean, strong scoops in storage gives you an edge. It's not a sexy tool. No one brags about having one. But in a world where plumbing breaks, garbage goes unmanaged, and hygiene collapses, a cat litter scoop becomes your first layer of defense against disease. Because survival isn't just about fire and food. Sometimes, it's about keeping your hands clean when no one else can. So there you have it, 7 survival finds hiding in plain sight at your local Walmart. Cheap, overlooked, and the moment shelves go empty, suddenly worth their weight in gold. None of these items scream tactical. But that's exactly the point. In a real crisis, the things people ignore today become the most fought-over gear tomorrow. You won't see these in viral prepper hauls, but when it matters, they'll be the difference between staying ready and scrambling too late. If even one of these made you stop and think, hit that like button, it helps the video reach more people who've never considered this side of prepping. Drop your own overlooked survival items in the comments. The best tips come from this community. And if you want more real-world prepping without the fear-mongering, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. We've got more breakdowns, more field-tested tips, and more no-nonsense survival gear coming your way every week. Because when the collapse begins, knowledge isn't just power, it's your only backup plan.